Hello everyone, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly and welcome to this video which we're going to take a look at some of the best golf holes in the UK and Ireland in association with Peter Millar. Now the way in which we've worked this video is that I've recruited the help of Rob Smith and Jezz Ellwood, who run our top 100 courses panel, and Golf Monthly editor Mike Harris, and I've asked them all for a nomination for their favourite par 3, par 4 and par 5. And we're going to discuss exactly what makes these golf holes so special, both in terms of the quality of the test and the design, and also what makes them really exciting to play once you get there. Right, we're here at Worpleston Golf Club. Let's get started. Right, so we are going to start with par 3s, and Rob, you're up first. What are you nominating as your best, or as one of your best par 3s that you've played?
Well, it's tricky to pick one out of so many, obviously, but the one that's always been in my mind, very often people say, what's your favourite golfing day out? I say Sunningdale because of the two courses. It's the 5th on the new course at Sunningdale. It is just sublimely beautiful. It's about 180 off the very back tees, 160-ish off the regular tees. Big cross bunker hidden down below in front of the green. Then there's two more that you really can't see that much of on the right of the green, and behind it you see that 6th par 5 heading up into the distance as well. It's just, you could be standing there and be back 100 years, it would just have looked exactly the same. It's just beautiful. And mentioning 100 years, it is its centenary this year for the new course, so it seems an appropriate one to put in.
Yeah, and I think with all of the par 3s in particular, they should all be great photo opportunities, really, shouldn't they? So, Mike, what would you put up as a great par 3?
Well, so that's really interesting when you say great photo opportunity, because it's a hole that whenever I go and play, as long as it's not raining, I'll take a photograph of it. And it's the 11th at Royal Liverpool. I'm very lucky to be a member there. I started playing golf there in my 20s when I was at university, and very lucky to be a member there. And it's called Alps. All the holes at Hoylake have names, and it's just beautiful. You've got the Dee estuary out to your left, and it's a beautiful hole. It's got a big dune behind it, about 180 yards, I think, something like that, from the sort of green tees, which are our medal tees at Hoylake. And it's a really good test. There's normally always a crosswind. Very rarely will you be playing it down or into. It's normally off the left, so to control the ball with that length of shot, it's always a good, normally for me, like a hybrid or a sort of 5-wood. It's a great hole. They've done some more contouring work behind the green. It's a great runoff. There's a big bunker which you think shouldn't be in play at all. It's sort of short and right, but a lot of balls go in there, and then it's a really difficult shot to get it out of there. But you've got this amazing view. I love to, sort of stand, take a picture, just sort of, look at the beauty of the hole. But it's a really, really great hole. In fact, I always think a good test of any hole when you look back is a good view as well. And 11th at Hoylake,
interesting thought. And actually, any par 3 with a crosswind is tricky. Getting the clubbing right is very difficult. Jezz, what have you got for your first par 3?
As Rob says, there's a cast of thousands. I actually went for the 15th at St Enodoc, which is a downhill par 3, mid-length. And why I've particularly picked that out is because at that point in the round, without being too unkind, I think you've just played some of the less exciting holes at St Enodoc.
Yeah, because there are some, it's important to say, there are some unbelievably exciting holes.
There are some fantastic holes, and then it just goes into this little section which is a bit quieter, shall we say. Yeah. And then you reach this tee and it's downhill, and you see the estuary beyond you, and it just reinvigorates the round for the final push for home. And 16 is a fantastic par 5 along the Camel estuary, and then the last 2 holes are pretty strong as well. But it just comes at the right time to give you that final push for home.
There's something quite appealing about downhill.
I think.
I don't know, what is it? You feel that you see the ball in flight the whole way? I don't know what it is.
You see everything, don't you? Which, on an uphill
just
par 3,
inviting,
you can't always see that much of the green. The element of elevation brings you great visuals, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, Jezz, well, fantastic par 3 on a brilliant golf course. Rob, your par 4 that you've gone for is the opening hole.
It is.
And I think that Actually, opening holes is another good discussion point for top 100, but let's talk specifically about the first hole at the course that you've chosen here.
Well, I've chosen the opening hole at Royal Porthcawl, which is one of my favourite courses. We have it as most people do, the best course in Wales. It's on a brilliant piece of linksland that rises up from the coast, and so as you come out into the first, you see those holes stretching up into the hills beyond you, and it really whets the appetite. The first is not particularly demanding unless the wind is blowing in or out, and it very often is.
So it is quite demanding.
I remember playing there with a group of a dozen or so of us, and it was absolutely howling in off the beach. All of us, of course, tend to hit with a bit of a cut. Well, the one guy with us was delighted because he was a left-hander, so it meant he could hit his first straight shot of the tour. We all had to aim out over the beach to keep it back on the hole. But it's a great hole. So 2 or 3 bunkers down the left, 1 on the right, and then you've got a deep bunker short of the green. But it eases you in. It's not too difficult, but it's really appealing, really attractive, and a great start to an absolutely great round.
What makes a great opening hole? I mean, Rob, you've just described it very well there, but what do you think makes a good opening
Something
hole?
that's not too hard.
Yeah,
definitely. You've got to get people away, haven't you, I think?
Yeah, from a golfer's perspective, certainly from a design perspective, it could be very different, but a brutally difficult first hole, and I can think of a couple in our top 100, where you're almost guaranteed to make bogey at best, is probably not ideal.
I think it's something, again, it's that pace of play. It's like you do not want people spending 15, 20 minutes playing the first hole because it's so hard.
And also when you're playing a medal and you're watching the group in front having an absolute nightmare on the hole that you're about to play, it can get you off to a slightly iffy start.
I think we're talking about par threes, an opening par 3 is not always great because it's usually a fairly lengthy one.
Yeah.
And you're hitting quite a small-headed club for your first swing of the day, and I'd rather be hitting a big-headed drive.
Absolutely.
To be honest.
Absolutely.
Yes. Right, so Jezz, I'm going to go back to you again for this one. Give us a nomination for one of your best holes as a par 4.
I've picked a long par 4, the 9th at Formby on the northwest coast there, and it's 450, 460 yards, so it's no pushover. You do have an elevated tee to give you a bit of a potential advantage in terms of distance, so you're playing straight towards the sea, although you don't really realise it because there's a big stand of pines behind the green. And it's a test because you've got to get a good drive away for average golfers to get home in 2. But then when you get there, the green is quite big, not ridiculously sloping. So if you do the hard part and get there in 2, you have got half a chance of walking off with a par and feeling very pleased with yourself as you head to the 10th tee.
Is the 9th at Formby a hole that they've made some changes to over the years?
Well, I think the 9th has changed recently. They've moved the fairway a little bit further left, I think, to allow longer hitters to attack the hole if they want to. I think there was some cross rough before, which meant longer hitters were perhaps having to lay up even on a long hole like that. But around that part of the course at Formby, there have been a lot of changes over the years because of coastal erosion. So I think the holes before the 9th were new holes some years ago to replace holes that did actually get much closer to the sea. Yeah,
and of course Formby, just brilliant golf course. That proper a mix of 2 different styles. You've got to play it to experience it for yourself. It's quite hard to describe, but well worth going to if you can. Mike, give us another par 4.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to talk about another club I'm very lucky to be a member of, Royal North Devon, Westwood Ho, as it's also known. And I'm going to go for the par 4 6th hole. So you've just played this brilliant uphill par 3, fiendishly difficult, surrounded by bunkers, and you walk up and you are confronted with really inspirational 360-degree view. You've got the wild Atlantic out to your left. You can look across over to Staunton, to the golf courses over there and the hotel, and then you've got Westwood Ho and Northam behind you. And it's just a really, really incredible hole in terms of the visuals. You stand on this tee. You've often got a little, there's a bench behind the par 3, and you have walkers just sort of be sat there and watch you sort of play into the par 3 and then tee off at the par 4. So you've got your own little sort of mini audience. And quite often they'll be chatting away. It's like golf's just incidental to them. And that's sort of a bit, the whole Royal North Devon experience is, whether it's sort of cows and sheep and horses, and those walkers. But it's a really great par 4. It's sort of 400 odd yards, big drive down. You've got out of bounds up the left-hand side. And then you play to sort of quite a narrow green. some little hidden bunkers in the fairway because it's just such a natural golf course. They're sort of marked out with little grey stones. White stones, but yeah, really brilliant par 4.
Yeah, no, wonderful. And actually, it's that the knowledge that you're going to play this hole where out of bounds just runs down the left-hand side of the hole plays into your mind a bit as you're playing the holes before it as well. So, well worth the trip if you get the chance to play Royal North Devon. Rob, give us a par 5 to talk about.
Okay, I'm going to stay down in the southwest actually, and I'm going to go into Cornwall and go to Trevose, where Mackenzie and Ebert have made some changes. Tom Mackenzie, I think, in about 10 years ago, maybe a bit less than that. The bunkering has been revamped everywhere and looks beautiful now. And the hole where it stands out the most was, to me, my favourite hole anyway. It's a par 5 which runs parallel to the beach, then turns left towards the beach. And as you get to the corner of the dogleg and go around, you get ever closer. The rugged bunkering is fabulous. You then have the Atlantic, and you actually see the white horses behind there too. You have to be careful which flag you're going for too, because if the lifeguards are out, then there's a big flag on the left, and then the green is just below that. It's now a huge undulating green, completely different to the way it was before, and it's just a glorious par 5 because you've got options. It's risk reward. You can how much of the corner do you take on, but then the reward, regardless of the score, is when you get to the green. What a brilliant sight right down by the beach. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful holes for sure within our top 100 courses, I would say. Jezz, give us another par 5.
Well, I've gone for Liphook, and the par 5, which is now the 7th. I think it used to be the 13th. They've done a lot of work at Liphook recently and rerouted it to make a road crossing point safer. And this hole now comes much earlier in the round. It plays down and then up to a green that's just got the most fantastic visuals as you play up to it. Heather right and left, a couple of big bunkers, pine trees right and left. And the drive is fairly generous, but if you don't quite get it, there's a penalty area across the bottom of the valley, which I'm told actually marks the Hampshire-West Sussex border.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you're in the heather or you haven't quite got your drive, you're going to have to decide whether or not to try and take this penalty area on before the final climb up to the green. I've played Liphook a number of times, and that's always the hole that sticks in my mind, which is
such a good hole.
It's sort of quintessentially it's inland golf in England, UK, and Ireland at its best.
Heather and
I
pines.
think heather and pines and a little bit of change of elevation as you go down and up is enough to paint a very pretty picture.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, I quite like the fact that it is, as you say, fairly generous tee shot, so it feels like you can have a go at it.
Well, you would have no trouble getting home in 2 tappers. Wouldn't even have to go after it.
Mike, give us another, our last par 5.
I'm going to cheat a bit, and I'm going to say the red course at the Berkshire, which has 6 par 3s, 6 par 4s, and 6 par 5s. So it's great. It's a really fun golf course. I would find it hard to pick any one of those par 5s because they're all great. First is a really good hole, really inviting drive. Probably the third would be my favourite of the par 5s, and it just plays up to a really great green. But say they're all good, and I just, none of the par 5s feel overly long. You feel like you've got a chance, get a decent drive where you feel like, okay, I've got a decent birdie chance, you should be coming in. If you're a big hitter like you, maybe I'll knock it on in 2, but for the rest of us, you're probably coming in with a shortish iron for your third shot. But I just love that as a make. I think it's so fun having those, those par 5s, 6 par 5s there. So yeah, bit of a fudge there that I couldn't
quite pick one.
Couldn't hold in one, but yeah.
I particularly like the one just before the par 3 across the big dip. I can't remember what number that is, and I like it because I very nearly made an albatross there. Oh really? Last time I played with Rob. Yeah. But I don't like to talk about it that much, so just leave it there.
Very good hole. Very good hole.
So there you have it. That's our look at some of the best holes in the UK and Ireland. We took them from our list of top 100 courses because one great hole doesn't make a great golf course, but having these top 100 courses and then picking out some of our absolute favourites is probably worth doing. What do you have to say? Have you played any absolutely wonderful holes that you want to talk about? Please do leave some comments below. We'd love to hear what you have to say. But that's it for now from Worplesdon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.